Well, hi guys, it's that time. It's our Bible teaching snippet of the day. Yesterday, when I closed out our Monday miracle story, I told you I was going to answer a question about Jesus could do no mighty works or whatever in his hometown. So, first of all, let me just read the question. It was posted openly, so I can use her name. Betty asked, what about when Jesus could do no mighty works because of their unbelief? So I want to talk about that today. Now, let me just say this. When I see that there's different teachings on a specific passage of verses, the first thing I do is I read the entire account from beginning to end, and I read it in several different translations, and then I go directly over to the Greek, and not from, the Greek translations are not taken out of the English translations, They are taken directly from the Greek manuscripts. So these Greek scholars are actually reading the manuscripts, and so we get a more richness and an understanding of what was really said. In our English translations, if it's just a translation of another translation, all we're doing is repeating the same error over and over again, usually just changing some of the words or the sentences, but it's basically the same error, if there is an error indeed. So let's get started with this, and to do it justice, what I want to do is read it in both accounts. There's two accounts of this. It's in Mark chapter 6 and then in Matthew chapter 13. And I'm going to read both of them in the Expanded Bible because it just adds into all of the different translations and gives you a fullness of what was going on. So let's get started. I'm in Mark chapter 6 and I'm going to read verses 1 through 5. And here we go. Jesus left there and went to his hometown, Nazareth, and his followers, his disciples, went with him. On the Sabbath day, he taught and began to teach in the synagogue. Many people heard him and were amazed, astonished, saying, "Where did this man get these teachings, these things? What is this wisdom that has been given to him? And where did he get the power to do miracles, such mighty works done by his hands? He is just the carpenter's son, the son of Mary, and the brother of James, Joseph, Judas, and Simon. And his sisters are here with us." So the people were upset with and offended by Jesus. Jesus said to them, "A prophet is honored everywhere except his hometown, and with his own people, his own relatives and kin, in his own household." So Jesus was not able to work any miracles there except to heal a few sick people by putting his hands on them or laying his hands on them. I think I should stop right here though and point out a couple of things. And I understand the wording sounds a little bit odd here, but even in this translation, but in verse 5 it says, "So Jesus was not able to work any miracles there," and here's the key word, "except to heal a few sick folks by putting his hands on them." So what we have to know to start with is Mark, which I said last week, he traveled with Peter, and scholars just believe that Mark's account of the Gospels was from listening to Peter teach about Jesus. And of course now there are some people, including me, that believe that Mark was actually there the whole time. I believe Mark was the young man in the garden that ran out of his robe to keep from being arrested by the Roman soldiers when Jesus was arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane. So I think that Mark had a first-hand account of what happened, as well as him traveling with Peter and hearing Peter preach the gospel. But right here, let's get back on this. In verse 5, it does not say Jesus didn't work any miracles. What it said, Jesus was not able to work any miracles there except. Except is an important word in that sentence. What they're saying is that Jesus was not able to do huge, massive miracles, raising the dead and doing all of the things like that. All that the people permitted Jesus to do, which I believe were basically desperate people and had nothing to lose, they stayed and let Jesus lay hands on them to see if they could get healed. I mean, come on, whether you believe in something or not, If you're dying, you will let somebody lay hands on you. I mean, what have you got to lose, right? Let's keep going. I want to go over to the account of Matthew chapter 13, and this is verses 53 through 58, and this is in the expanded as well. So here we go. And when Jesus finished teaching with these stories and parables, he left there. He went to his hometown, Nazareth, and he taught the people in their synagogue, and they were amazed and astonished. They said, "Where did this man get this wisdom and this power to do miracles? He is just the son of a carpenter, and his mother is Mary, and his brothers are James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas, and all his sisters are here with us. Where then does this man get all these things?" So the people were upset with and offended by Jesus. But Jesus said to them, "A prophet is honored everywhere, except in his hometown, in his own home, his own family or household." So he did not do many miracles there because they had no faith or because of their unbelief. So right here, again, we see Matthew did not say that Jesus didn't do any miracles. Jesus could not do many miracles. Did you know when you heal someone and they immediately get well, that is a miracle, okay? And some healings are progressive, but some are absolutely immediate, okay? So let me get to teaching about this just a little bit. I've done a word study on both of these particular passages over in Matthew chapter 13 in this verse here of 53, and it says astonished or amazed. You know, Kenneth Wiest says that they were flabbergasted and they were just in shock of him being able to do these things. Here, that word astonished in the Greek, I'm not even going to try to say it, it's number 1605, but it says here, watch, this is another meaning of this, to drive out or to drive away. And then it also says to strike with panic. So that's just one thing I want to show you there. The next thing I want to talk to you about is that word offended. And both times in Matthew and Mark, the exact word is used for offended. And that Greek word is number 4623 in the Strong's Concordance. I'm not going to try to say it because I'll just mess it up. But what it says here, and I want to read this whole thing to you, it says to cause a person to begin to distrust and to desert one whom he ought to trust and obey. So what we see here in that word offended is to cause people to distrust and to leave, to desert. Okay, I want to point those out. And it says, here's the second one that I want to read to you on this same word offended. It says, to be offended in one, to see in another what I disapprove of and what hinders me from acknowledging his authority. Did you get that? Okay, so what I want to talk to you real quick about is that it is scriptural here that the people, Jesus comes to his hometown, these people know who he is. Quite honestly, they know the story about Jesus supposedly being this miracle birth, but actually he was a bastard child born out of wedlock, okay? And they are highly offended that this illegitimate boy, bore by Mary and claimed by Joseph to cover up the mess, you know, he's covering up for Mary and making an honest woman out of her by marrying her after she's gotten pregnant. Which, by the way, they could have stoned Mary for that. Mary could have been stoned if Joseph had not taken her and said that he was going to marry her. Mary's parents could have allowed the city to stone her because she was pregnant outside of marriage. And in those days, that was death by stoning, okay? So the next thing I want to talk about here, though, is that these people were flabbergasted. They were offended by Jesus to the point that they would not stay and listen to him, okay? So let's talk about, this is how I teach this, and it's kind of funny, so bear with me. Usually when I teach from this live in a group of people, I will use this example. I will say, and most of us who have heard of healing, we've heard of Benny Hinn. And so, you know, Benny Hinn is going to be in this big city I'm from the Memphis area, so he's in Memphis, Tennessee, and he has filled the Coliseum with 100,000 people. And all these people come and they get healed because the Big Benny is there. And so, let's just say 30,000 people got healed. Now, that would have been big miracles, a huge deal, right? But then Benny goes home to his hometown. In his little hometown, there's not but 3,000 people living there. And they know who Benny is. They know all about Benny's childhood. And, the people that show up and see this guy, and they're like going, that's Benny. That's the guy who went to school with me, and we called him Booger Benny. And Booger Benny has this name around town, and everybody is looking at each other going, Booger Benny is not laying his hands on me to heal me, because I know him. The people actually here, guys, they walked out, and did not stay for Jesus to do anything. And so the only miracles that happened were the people that would stay behind for Jesus to heal them. Now, before I close today, I want to read something, and this is out of the Divine Healing Technician Training Manual by Curry Blake. And I've listened to about 12 of his Divine Healing Technician trainings. But this is the manual. And I'm just going to, before I close today, I want to read what Curry Blake wrote about this particular scripture. So here we go. And this is Curry Blake. He wrote this. This question comes up very often. Most people cannot quote 5 verses that promise healing. Yet even non-Christians know of the scriptures that seem to say that Jesus tried to heal people in his own hometown and couldn't. That Paul had some mysterious illness or eye problem, and God told him no when he asked God to heal him. They know that Paul left somebody sick somewhere, but they don't remember who or where. They know that Paul told Timothy to drink some wine because of his stomach problems. First, nowhere does the Bible say that Jesus tried and failed to heal anyone. Actually, it says just the opposite. Jesus healed them all. The scripture in question here does not say Jesus tried to heal those of his own hometown, but he couldn't heal anyone, even though that is what is preached many times. What it does say, he could there do no mighty works because of their unbelief, except he laid his hands on a few sick folk and healed them. The ones he laid hands on were healed. So you could say that he healed them all, the ones he laid hands on. The word except means that there were some mighty works that did occur. So what mighty works did occur? No one got healed by touching the hem of his garment. No one came to him and asked him to heal their child or their servant from a distance. Remembering the Roman centurion and the Syrophoenician woman, both of whom said, Jesus himself said, had great faith. So apparently no one in Nazareth got healed on their own faith, but rather on the faith of Jesus. The unbelief of the people of Nazareth likely kept them from coming to Jesus to be healed. People don't believe in you or are offended in you as they were with Jesus, don't usually come to your meetings to be healed by you. So listen, guys, that's my teaching on that particular scripture, and I will see you right here tomorrow. Bye-bye.